Hello, hello.
Howdy.
How's it going?
So we are going to start in just a little bit. We've noticed that if we don't start right at 8, a lot of people probably feel like we're not going to do it. So we're going to be better at starting early.
1 minute early.
Yeah,
Wow.
1 minute early. But anyway, we just want to say thank you for everyone for joining us. We're going to go over some some topics, unfortunately, that we've kind of been dealing with currently, and hopefully this can help some people.
That's our whole hope. We are doing these firesides every Sunday just because we have felt almost like God or Layla or whoever it is pushing us to share our story and be real with those people so that whoever else is hurting out there or who doesn't know what they're feeling can maybe just learn something from us, but also we learn something from you. Because this journey, there's not much resources out there. There's not much help out there. And sometimes you feel like you're all alone. And so I would encourage you to, if you guys are feeling something or pushed to say something on here, just be a part of this conversation and post down below a comment. We want to hear your comments. We want to know if you are struggling with the same thing or if this is something that we're only struggling with, which I know is not true.
You know, like in the future, as Stacy and Josh and Arian, who obviously are our brother and sister-in-law who've gone through the same process 3 years ago, as we do these back and forth, in the future, we would like to have people that have experienced this to come on and to kind of share their story, because this is obviously really, really difficult for us. Yesterday, me and my wife were talking about it, and like, we are no means experts at this. And I think the only reason why people are kind of like tuning into us is because we're kind of experiencing this as we go, because it's so brand new. Unfortunately, and the blessings that come with this is we've had a lot of people reach out to us that have told us that these have helped. And that's why we keep doing it, right? It's because
that's really the only reason we don't have anything other than just we want to help others, and talking about it can be something that can really help you understand where you're at too. Because these stages of grief, I never really knew about them. I was just feeling certain ways, and I am now understanding that this is a normal feeling. These are normal things that we're going through. And some people, think that we are so strong that we can get up here and talk about this. We are not strong. We have to take this day by day. We cry every day. We feel the pain every day. We feel the void of our daughter who drowned 2.5 months ago. And our little Layla is in our heart every single day, and she isn't forgotten. But I think there's some people out here who are feeling lost, like they can't go on, and I understand. And the only reason why I'm going on and my husband are going on is because we have to. If you take the dark, dark road, you'll be in a dark place. You will not be able to be the person that God has meant for you to be, but most likely, the person who died that you love so much would never want to see you be in the dark, dark place.
Yeah, we've had people that have talked to us that have said that they've gone 20 years and they've never kind of gotten over this to the point of that they don't have happiness anymore. Now, I can absolutely see how people can not move on in the same way. This term, the new norm, meaning like you have to find a new way of living, and that's totally understandable. But with that said, your loved ones, I could never see in a place where your loved one, whether it's a child or a spouse, would want you to live the remaining of your lives in misery. And that's why I think we're so thankful for the gospel of Jesus Christ that teaches us a different way. So we're going to talk a little bit about these, of how we can overcome these. Not that you can ever replace or forget. That's no way what we're trying to say here at all. But what we are saying is that we can find happiness in a different experience than having our loved ones with us. We've gone through this a lot, where we've felt alone, and we felt the denial and isolation of this experience, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
Do you mind if I bring something up real fast?
Sure.
The special day that it is today. So today is Father's Day, and as you know, we celebrate our dads and our fathers and all those men who have been like fathers or who have been examples to us. And I think today was a little hard. Not only was it my husband's special day,
but it was my wife's special day. Today's
it was my birthday.
her birthday. The 21st.
And it was my first birthday and first Father's Day without our little girl, and
This only happens once every 7 years, where Father's Day and her birthday
go together.
Coincide. So this was kind of unique, huh?
Yeah, and I almost felt like when we woke up today, it was a sad moment. It was because we didn't have our whole family here together. And I know first, as you all know that are going through loss, firsts are hard. First kind of suck because it's like you want to be happy for that celebration. At the same time, you almost feel sad that that person's not here to celebrate. As a father,
really
as a father, like
kind of suck. It really sucks.
Yeah.
Are you doing the Dr. Phil thing again? Where you ask me a question?
Dr. Phil, I'm asking him questions. Go.
What was your question, Dr. Phil?
So, as a father, how did you feel today on Father's Day?
Well, you know, I think as we woke up this morning, we we're thinking about it. I just, as a dad, I just feel like I was meant to protect my kids. You know, like I feel like it's like my number one job is to make sure they're safe, that they're protected. You know, when nightmares come and Daddy comes and chases them away. I mean, I just feel like that was my job, and so obviously today, losing one, I absolutely felt a loss, like I just let her down, and I know, that it was an accident, but those feelings are real. It's not like I can deny them. I've mentioned this many times before. I still have flashbacks. I still have episodes where I think about when she was dying. I had to give her CPR, and I don't know if those. I hope they will end one day, but at the same time, I mean, I've talked to a lot of individuals that have gone through kind of scenes in their lives, whether it's wartime or police officers that have seen things, and they say it takes all time and it takes counseling. So that's kind of where we're at here. I mean, I'm lucky enough that I'm willing to talk about these things, and it does help. But as Father's Day rolls around, I feel like there's a loss. Absolutely, like that I couldn't protect someone that I should have or could have or one point wanted to.
And so wives and children, love your dads or love your fathers, whoever has gone through that loss. Love them extra today. Tell them how wonderful they are, and really see what they do as fathers. Because I look at my husband and I'm like, he could blame me, he could talk bad about me, he could isolate himself from me. And we could be in a really, really dark spot, but we are both just trying to work at it. Our marriage is not perfect. Satan's trying to destroy things between our marriage during this time, and that is a normal thing. But know that we are trying, and that's what matters most between husband and wife, is that we keep on trying, and we don't give up on each other. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all of you amazing men out there, and I really feel like there's so many good men out there, and so do not let the world discourage you with other things that are happening, but love those men who are in your life. And happy Father's Day to all of you. But we will start. So today's topic is denial and isolation, and these are really heavy topics, mostly because
they're real. I mean, let's just start off with the first one, denial. I don't know anyone that goes through a tragic incident that doesn't have a denial. Like, I mean, every day we talk about, like, is this really happening? Is this really our life? Like, is this our new normal? Like, I mean, just a few hours ago, my wife was over in the chair, rocking back and forth and looking at her birthday presents, and it was just some memorials of Layla. And
this is one, and it's a picture of me and Liz.
Yeah, we had someone really cool, special send that out, and yeah, it's hard to believe this is our life now.
Well, denial is a confused rejection. And so basically, when we were going through, the loss of our baby, it pretty much started in the hospital, because you are in denial we were in denial the whole time, thinking that she'd actually die. For me, I actually didn't even believe that she would die. I didn't even think that was an option. I thought that we were always seeing good signs from the doctors and stuff, so I never really thought that dying was an option. I thought that having special needs child was an option, but dying was never that option, or did I think it was happening. And this denial is a numbing that you feel. So it's almost like you go to a different place instead of accept what is really happening.
Well, and I think denial she's talking about a textbook answer, but from a personal perspective, I mean, every morning I wake up and I still think she's going to be in her little room, right? Like, I, I have to look at that area and think like, oh my goodness, she's not there. And, you know, we just barely took the crib down after, you know, almost coming up on 2.5 months. And that was so hard. Like, I mean, so part of denial is just, it's hard, it's having to accept that there's a reality that you wish never occurred. And I go through that all the time. I mean,
it's like such shocking news, right? It's like something that you don't even want to accept. It's something that you do anything else, but to accept this, you don't want to do.
Because if you accept it, that means it's a truth. And the truth is too hard to handle sometimes, right? It's much easier to deny something and then accepting a reality, you know? It's much easier to deny that the accident happened to have to wake up and realize like you have to live your life moving forward without her in it. That is way, way hard. And at times, that numbing effect my wife's talking about it's just like, it's a reality that you don't even want to go to. The cool thing about this experience we've had with talking with people is we've had so many people reach out to us. I don't think this would have been possible if we didn't reach out first to other individuals. We have had people from different parts of the world contact us, reach letters to us, email us, and so many of them have the same conclusion that, you know, time is the great. They say it helps. You know, time cures. I don't know how this could ever cure, but what I think time does is it allows for maybe the sting to not be so painful like it was in the first week or two, but it never goes away.
Helps you learn how to cope, I think, is like you have to learn different things that help you be in a healthy spot, because those deep things of denial and just, it's pretty much like you're in this cocoon and you're wrapped up in this cocoon and you don't want to get out. Like you're almost scared to get out and accept what has happened to you. Don't you remember at the funeral? Like we have to plan a funeral between the day that she dies to the day that you lay your child down.
You have like 3 days to prepare everything. It has to be done with like in a week.
And it's overwhelming, you know?
Yeah.
And I was numb during that time. I was sad. I was frustrated. Those are all the feelings that I was feeling, and even mad at those times. And you're asked to prepare this amazing thing to celebrate your child's life. And I just remember feeling like I was in denial. I walked into the funeral home, saw her, not the funeral home, to the church, saw her body lying in the casket, and just thinking, this isn't real. This can't be real. Like tomorrow I'm going to wake up and this is going to be all a dream. And so I think that the denial, it doesn't set in till months later, is what I've been told many times, and I still don't think it's actually been set in. Do you feel like it's set?
No,
like,
but that's
we know it's true, but
well,
like,
that's why people always keep talking to us, right? You know, like the further you go along, like, I mean, I was talking to this individual, and you know, it's years later, and he's like, it's hard for me to even accept it to this moment, you know, and I'm like, does it ever end? And I think everybody's different. That's the thing, is these whole stages of grieving, they're just roadmaps, and I don't think anyone walks these roadmaps the same. Nobody goes through them. And what we've found out between husband and wife, men and women are way different in this process, like night and day. Yeah. You know, and sometimes
that's okay. I mean, everyone mourns differently, and everyone deals with denial differently too, and so. But
just because it's okay doesn't mean it can't be difficult, because maybe totally sometimes. Difficult. You know, you wish someone would, just like anything in life, right? Like, why don't you understand? But it's because we have different perspectives. We have different, you know.
But I've heard, too, that once it starts to hit, my sister told me, Stacy, who lost her daughter, she said that when everyone's gone and when you start to live your life more and you have to not move on, but you have to continue life with the loss of your child, they say that it's almost like your child it has been ripped out of your body, which I kind of understand, because it's like you have to know that they are separate from you now, and that you're not going to see them. And there's been certain days where I come home and it's a lot more real than others. When we came back from our big trip from Utah, that was a huge indicator of how real it was, and I wasn't in denial. I just allowed myself to cry, and I allowed myself to go there. And I think it's healthy to allow yourself to go there instead of just to put bandages on top of it and not deal with the actual feelings that you're feeling about. And Josh has expressed, like, I cry a lot by myself, and you talk a lot to yourself too, right? And how that helps.
Yeah, I do. I do talk to myself, especially when I'm in the garden or
I
whatever.
do that too.
I talk to trees, flowers. They seem to listen really well. But really, I'm just talking to myself, just trying to clear my mind. Just like I kind of think of myself kind of like a pot, and I'm just letting off steam, right? I just can't keep it inside, and so I do. I have to kind of go to my own self, and like my kids for Father's Day, they did the coolest thing ever. They got me a book of the like best, corniest dad jokes, and I was just reading them and laughing. And humor is a big part of.
He's got some good jokes.
Yeah, there's some good ones in this. A lot of them are lame, but there's some good ones. But my point is, like, we're different, and that's not my wife's approach, right? And so I just feel like we just have to like kind of learn our own method, but more importantly, support each other. And that's the key, is like we have to support each other in certain things, because my wife, you love to talk about things, and sometimes I
do, but sometimes I don't actually. Well, sometimes I just like to.
Remember you reading that book to me about that lady drowning? You're like, Josh, listen to this, and she lived. I had a hard time with that. I had to walk away. I'm like, yeah, I know, I get.
And then I was offended because I wanted him to listen to me, but he just couldn't handle it, and so I didn't understand it. So then that became kind of a spout. So just understand that marital things between you with denial and isolation and stuff, it's going to be completely different in how you take it, and that's why communication is so important in relationships.
Well, that moment, it was hard for me to listen to someone else. That this individual was in the water for 30 minutes and they lived. And I'm just like, and my wife's talking about how awesome it was, and it hurt, it crushed me. I'm just like, why couldn't that happen to our girl? And so, yeah, I did. I can't do this, Shannon. I gotta walk away. And my point is
getting back to denial too, like just thinking that your life could be different, or if somebody else had it.
Well, it's a part of isolation too, right? You just kind of like, there's some things
take yourself away from it. Yeah.
Like last week, we had the opportunity to hold this little girl. We love them. They're sweet, the family we have.
Liz friends.
And and Shannon was just holding her, and her sweet mother was just like, "Is this hard for you?" And like, "No, this is what I need." And
so I was bawling my eyes out.
Yeah, but
but it was good.
It is good. I mean, part of those moments of denial is you too want to be around little ones to remind you. But
you do want to talk about your Layla or your little child.
But I still want to hold little girls, because it does remind me of my little girl. Like, we have when Stacy and Josh came down here, they had their little daughter, and I just held her and started bawling. And he turns to me, he's like, "We didn't know how you guys are going to react to this, like, because they're so close in age, and they're best friends, and like this is the best thing." And every night, I took their little girl and I just walked around my neighborhood, just left, because that's what I used to do with Layla. And that was so soothing for me, It was. But I had to be on my own, and just with my little niece. And but I guess my point to this whole thing is, like, these things are really rampant in our lives right now, and I don't think they're going to end in a certain timeline. I just think that we have to learn to recognize them, and the more we recognize them, the more we can kind of cope with this.
There's some people that deal with denial in a really, really hard way too. Some people actually go really deep in this denial, and I was just reading about it, and I am going to bring up some stats and stuff about what people experience when they experience hallucinations, dreams. When deceased are still alive, they see deceased in streets and illusions of perception, and it frequently comes to them, and when it stops coming to them, they get really mad, and they start to go down a really deep road. And so just know that this is what we're experiencing. We know that there's tons of other ways of denial and what it can look like, but it can be short-lived, and that's one thing that's good about denial, is that it is short-lived, but it can come way later, or if you're going through a really hard time, it can reoccur again. And so that can be a hard thing too, but we always say have support, talk to somebody about this. Like,
one of the greatest things we have is we've been able to talk to people who've gone through this.
For each other.
I mean, especially other couples who have gone through this. So those that are listening, if you don't have individuals that you can talk to, I would highly recommend finding some type of group. And that's kind of why we're here. If you need to talk to us, you can. Like I said, we are no experts at all. All we are is grieving parents that have gone down this horrible path. And if that's what we are to some people, that's what we'll be, because we are lucky enough that we do have
my sister.
We do have a good support system that have gone through this.
I think that's why we're doing this, because when I noticed that my sister was able to supply me with like an outsource or somebody who has gone through it already, that was so comforting. That was so good just to know I could call her at any time. And I have other women who reach out to me, and I love it. This is what I want the community to be about, and other men too, who just are like, oh my gosh, I went through the same thing. This is what I'm dealing with. Give me some steps on what I can do, or tell me some scriptures or what might help. We are here for you. We want to create a group where we are all supporting each other, because I've said this before, but mourn with those that mourn. That is something that can be comforting and uplifting and help all of us. So if you do not have anyone, try to reach out to anyone here on these kind of groups, but you can also reach out to me too, or my husband. I mean, we both have our own ways that we're grieving, and you might connect to one of us better than the other. So that's why we're here. Next topic, though, is isolation. And isolation, this is a great topic to talk about, because we are currently kind of in isolation, aren't we?
Yeah.
We have a whole bunch of family downstairs, and it's good for there's like 7 other people, so there's 13 people in the house. Been like that for 2 weeks now, and we've been surrounded by family a lot, and it's wonderful.
The first few weeks we had
17 people.
We had 17 people that came immediately, some family members,
including our family though.
And then they left for a week, and then it was really difficult for that week.
Hardest.
And my sweet sister put us on a flight back to go see our family who couldn't come out to the funeral, which was almost everyone except for one of my brothers
side, yeah.
on my side. So we had the opportunity to go back there, and yeah, so it was hard being alone, you know, and our family's leaving in a couple days, and so we'll have to get back to real life.
Yeah, they leave on Tuesday, and so after Tuesday we're like, oh, reality is going to hit really hard. But even when people are here, it's almost like before, Josh and I were just talking about, we're like, we used to be the fun couple. We used to be the couple that would have people over, we'd host parties, we were like, we loved having people around. But now it seems like so much work, and it seems like so much
effort, energy, like
it's so weird, because this is not me before I get excited about these kind of
I
things.
just feel like I just feel drained all the time, and I get why. I mean, we're like on emotions of a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. It's
the
exhausting.
drop of the hat, you know. Yeah, things. I've never cried so much in my life, like ever, and at the same time, I mean, like it's draining, and so yeah, this isolation thing is sometimes. I kind of go to my room. Shannon has this special place that we've created for her. We call it the Layla Garden.
It's beautiful. It's just my own little area away from the house. You can see the house, but sometimes I just have to be still. And that's one thing that
I've
actually learned a lot, is I need a
place
that's beautiful, that's still, where I can read my scriptures, where I can write my journal, where I can read books that are all about. But that's what I need for myself. That's one way that I'm able to feel closer to God, but also closer to Layla. And this garden that Josh and his sister and all the family has created is my place. It's my little piece of heaven.
I've had tons of friends. Even our work family came out. Like 30 people came out and helped us clear it, because it was just woods. So yeah, it was a group project. But that's been really good. And these projects that have kept me busy personally, and you know, my wife has me painting our whole house now.
What are you talking about? I'm doing most of it. Come on.
Okay, me and my wife are painting our whole house right now.
Your wife and I, yes.
But anyway, these projects have kept us, you know, obviously busy during this whole COVID-19. But more importantly, it keeps your mind running instead of just dwelling on the what ifs. And that's the hard part of isolation. Is early morning, late at night, are really difficult.
You're all by yourself.
You are.
In a dark house.
Even if you're next to your wife, even when you're going to bed, like your thoughts are to yourself, and you keep racing through this process. What if, you know, why, you know, how come, and you know, what could I have done different? And this whole isolation, you're alone. It just takes you down this path of life that could have been, or more importantly, that you thought should have been.
So I think it's a total normal thing to go through. It's a total normal feeling to want to isolate from people, because you have your own feelings. At any snap of the finger, you can be crying, or you can be thinking about that person. And sometimes I just have to remove myself, and I do it. Unlike nobody really knows, I just leave. But sometimes I'll just go into my own little area. Sometimes it's in the bathroom either. Sometimes it's in my closet, and sometimes I'll just cry, and nobody even knows I cry. I let it all out.
Oh, I know.
Not all the time.
I know.
But one of the biggest things I do too is get on my knees, or even just say prayers in my head, and I'm constantly constantly praying to God to help me know what I need to do, to help me like figure out what my path is, because I don't know what it is, and whatever God wants me to do, I'm ready to do it, because I've done the hardest thing He's given me. But isolation is people feel the need to isolate themselves from others and the world for a time. So isolation is different than depression, and only because it's an isolation from a bunch of people. But you're not becoming depressed. You're not going down that deep path that can lead you to major depression. It's basically just taking yourself away from a group and being by yourself.
But I want to make this clear for some individuals, and sometimes during isolation, people pick up habits that aren't healthy, that are absolutely destructive, and sometimes they can damage the very thing that you hold the most sacred. And whether that's drugs, alcohol, addictions, and sometimes these addictions can consume them. And unfortunately,
pornography is a big one too, because they feel so left alone, and that it's a big thing now going on that is very destructive to marriages and relationships.
And so I'm more talking to the guys, but the girls also, like, if you feel yourself going down that, I think that's the time you absolutely need to reach out to people, because sometimes if you get into these addictive habits, that's the point. They're addictive and they become a habit. And sometimes they consume your lives and take the very best of who you are, and you become different in it. So I had an individual, great guy, and I was just telling him, as I was going through this, he's basically said, so how are you doing this? And I said, I'll have to be honest, I made a promise to my little girl. And I'm just like, I am not going to use your life as an excuse, I'm going to live my life better. I have to. And he told me he had a situation that was really bad and he couldn't handle. And he said, I'll be honest, when I went through my dark time, I went to a place of addiction. And he says, I finally came to the conclusion, I'm like, I've got too many other people counting on me, and I totally can relate to that. I think because we have so many children, but even if you don't, you have a spouse. If you have a spouse, you have brothers and sisters. The world, parents, there's too many people counting on you for throwing in the towel. We have to fight this good fight. And if it's just to show other people that they can get through this, so be it. Because other people always inspire other people to be their very best. And sometimes there always has to be what I call the lone tree, you know what I mean? The one that feels like I'm all alone, and I don't know why I'm doing this. But guess what? There's always someone watching. Maybe you're the only one in your family that is strong enough to go through this trial, and it will give strength to your future friends, relatives, neighbors. But you have to look inside, and that's why I think the gospel of Jesus Christ is so important. Our Heavenly Father has given this roadmap that just because we go through hard things doesn't mean we have to go through it alone. And that is the great thing I've learned through this whole process of denial and isolation, is that in my own life I've realized that Heavenly Father too has gone through his own isolation where he was alone. But he still turned to his Father in heaven. And I just hope and pray that I can always have that perspective. Like, I can turn to my Father in heaven and get help. Because sometimes I know I can't do this on my own. It's too hard. I don't know how anyone can do this on their own. But there is help. And we felt some incredible peace during this time of chaos, huh? It's
crazy.
been crazy.
You can feel peace at the same time of having the most wrenching thing happening to you.
It's like an oxymoron. How can you feel at peace when you're hurting so bad? There's a truth to it. It is. And all those that have gone through this, that experience, can tell you it's a reality. Now, there's some individual that they've gone years without it. And I'm just speaking to you right now. I'm telling you, there's a different way. And it's not something that we've created. It's not something that, we've done. But there's truths laid in the scriptures that if you learn to follow Heavenly Father, to give that pain up to Him, to ask for help, that there is a power that comes. And whether you believe it or not, it doesn't change the fact that it's true. It is true. And I know it can help people. So if those are something that you're looking for and you need help, contact us. We'd love to talk to you, because we know this is so so painful.
Like he was saying, those self-destructive things that can really lead into like major destruction. We've heard of many people reach out to me about suicide and feeling like they just want to end their life, that there's no purpose. And there is a purpose, and I think that that's one thing that you have to figure out. You have to figure out your purpose here on earth. You have to know how much your Savior in heaven loves you. Because I have had to learn, even though I believed it, I had to relearn it. I had to relearn how God was going to talk to me. I had to relearn and put effort into finding out how he loves me and how much he loves each one of you. Even though we have these trials, he still loves us, and he's not going to leave us. He's been here the whole entire time. And I think that's been one coping mechanism for me. It's been a coping thing to be able to know that God's there, that I can talk to him like a normal father, that I can express my feelings of how I'm really feeling, and that he will still love me, and he has his hands stretched out to grab you and hold you and bring you in. And I know this to be true, you guys. We have allowed ourselves to be isolated from each other too, and sometimes we are isolated for a few days, just like wanting to be by ourselves. And when we have God in our life, we are more likely to come together instead of pull apart from each other. And so another thing too is just to take time to grieve, take time to cry, take time away from work if you can, because you have to confront this big elephant in the room.
Yeah, you
can't hide it.
You can't cram this. This is some. I love the motto. You know, they just as a guy, it's just like just shove it down. You know, that's what creates major diseases in life, and I mean stress. And when you just put something so deep inside and just try to bury it, it always comes back in different things. Whether it's anger, aggression, abuse, substance abuse, alcohol or drugs. I mean, the further you push this down, something is going to explode inside of you. And so my point to this whole thing is like, if you know this is going to happen, diffuse it before it starts. If you can sense yourself going there, go the other direction. Find help. Because we know, I mean, one thing that's taught us, we have no judgment on anyone. I mean, anyone who goes down the path, when I see people that are hurting, I'm like, I get it. I totally get it. Like, I mean, I understand why you're doing that. I do. Now, at the same time, I may understand your pain, but I realize that there's a better path too. Just because we may understand and know how difficult, and you just want to numb your life and just like bury it, but there's a better path. There really is. And only when you choose that better path can you sit back and realize, do you know what? It was a lot more healthier, but more importantly, it actually relieves more pressure. So all this burying, this, getting rid of just like trying to drink yourself away or to become numb in life and just like, I just have to bury my feelings, and through abuse of any kind of substance abuse, it always comes back. So the beauty of this is like, you can actually face it head on and you can move forward. And that's hopefully what we want to help ourselves do, we want to help others to do, because our own siblings have done this. And they've been such great examples. I mean, Josh and Stacy have been such great examples of moving forward and making the world a better place instead of...
Because of their loss, instead of making it worse. Because all you're doing is destroying yourself and those around you. I would encourage you, though, all. There's some of you who do only want to look at pictures of the ones that you've lost. I'm telling you right now, you have to confront the good times of what you had with that person. When I look at this picture, of my little Layla, you can't really see it. But I want you all to grab your picture of whoever you lost. I want you to literally confront them and look them in the eye. And I know this might sound crazy. Look them in the eye and tell them that you will commit yourself to becoming better. And I am trying to become the best version of myself. And it's almost like I've had a plea from Layla to Mom, you're asking what you need to do. Just become the best version of yourself. And sometimes I look at her and go, I don't know how to do that. How do I do that when I'm so sad, when I'm so lonely, when I miss you so much? Mom, I'm going to help you. And just the same as all of you that have lost children, have lost your mom or your dad or your sister or your brother, they want to help you, but you have to be open to letting them help you, but also God helping them. I promise you, God will help you if you allow it. God is there for you.
I was just smiling because I was thinking, Layla tells me all the time, just tell Mommy to give Daddy more hugs and kisses.
Oh my gosh. This guy. reality, right?
It totally works. But
anyways,
but reality, honestly, you guys, we love you. We appreciate all those that have
support,
but
kind words,
and those that are going through this, like we're here for you. I mean, so that's our session this week.
We hope that the best thing that you can do is move forward on this. I mean, denial and isolation are hard, and it can go in different order and stuff, but denial and isolation are usually the first thing that you experience, but you can always come back. But do things for yourself. Figure out something to do to get you out of bed, to get you going, even if it's to go outside, go for a walk. If it's to go make the meals for your children, do something that will make you get out of the glum and the chum of the world. And
yeah, I think the assignment I would kind of leave is like, you've got to have some type of projects, whether it's work, a plan, activities, because if you just leave it up to like, I don't know what, you'll just go to your isolation, right? You'll just go to loneliness. So you've got to have some type of progression you're moving towards. So I would definitely say, write down some goals of getting some stuff done, and you're going to find out that you can do it with help. You can, so.
And there's a book that we read, and this book that I love is called The Message, and it's one of my favorite books, but it has helped us with our whole grieving and to know what our little one is going through. And
the whole message is service, which isn't what life's about, is serving one another.
Service is the action word for love. And so when we love others, we're able to think less of ourselves, and we're able to move forward in a better way. But remember, sadness and loneliness and all these feelings are just part of this grieving process, so it's okay wherever you are, but just know there is a better way.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see you next week.
This week my sister is actually going to do the topic of acceptance with her husband, and they'll be talking about acceptance because they've been 3 years in on losing their daughter Lily. So please join us, spread the word, and we just want to touch as many people as we can and help whoever we can, and reach out to us.
Love like Layla.
Love like Layla, guys.